Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. So ultimately looking for our stabilizing syllability, what is sensorality, showing the direct iteration of those letters into a theorem, a fact that is well known, that is undeniable, and it's complete. It uses all of the letters of sensorality. That is what we're working towards. I can't tell you the completeness demonstration because we've not gotten there yet. And so science team has it, but it's, theft of intellectual property. But regardless, we continue on with our derivation. And so last time I tentatively labeled a theorem the fundamental theorem of direction. Because again, all of our mathematics structure is modeling existence of real things that have occurred. And those are the stabilized dynamics 1 and 2. Any counting system, go look at a tribe in the Amazon. They have a 1-to-many counting system. And so we have one thing. How does that thing differentiate? And so I even wanted to take it back, but again, differentiation establishes direction, right? Up, down, left, right, forward, backwards. And they come in pairs, and they only make sense in pairs. And so what I labeled was the fundamental theorem of direction. I even kind of wanted to change that to differentiation. But differentiating establishes direction. When you have one thing, and then again, we have no intuition because we all are born past this physical evolution, again, for everything. It's just one thing. But again, that logic is contained within our language. And so the maximum of inversion is because that's the only way a single thing can differentiate is to invert on itself. And again, think about that. For all of history, we will now cite what we will call the butthole squared solution. Right? If your butthole comes out of your butthole, that is inversion. And so again, we have working definitions. This one big model that Brad has built, again, language is complete, it is consistent, but it's not absolute. Right? There's no absolute reason or word for house. There's different languages. And so, but we're going to have to cite our working definitions. And it makes sense. It absolutely 100% makes sense. So that is fun. That is fun. The fogget avec no baguette, the butthole squared. We can see this model is going to have a lot of staying power well into the future. But I have written down what is direction to differentiation. Direction is derivative from differentiation. Logically, the physical process of differentiating one thing has to be inversion, and then the maximum that thing can invert is to be an opposite, right? Positive, negative. We see that with all of our constitution of matter. Positive and negative charge, stabilized into mass. And so direction differentiates. Direction, discretion. Sensorality is discretionality. Discrete, discretion. Sensorality is discretionarity. Choice is discretionary. Induce, deduce. And the exact physical statement I have in mind is that a moving charge induces a magnetic field. Again, all things are moving charge. It's a balanced dynamic. So we're all inducing a magnetic field. But again, focusing logically on the word induce, right? Induce, deduce. And then all analysis is deduction, or all logic is deduction. Analysis, the collective process of assessing what is real. But induction is causation, right? If moving charge induces a magnetic field, it is causing a magnetic field. Induction is causation. Sensorality is causationality. Sensorality is cautionarity. Soak, moan, as again, we're going to have to at some point, whether I'm alive or not, to see it, which I did get my blood work back, which seems to be pretty good. So that's positive, I guess, but I still don't have constitutional rights, and it's just like, what the fuck? Every minute of every day. But whenever my research gets acknowledged, because again, there is objective fundamental truth contained within this big physics derivation that Brad has demonstrated, we're going to have to use Brad's ontology. And so when we reference Brad's work, we will call it daddy, and then you just moan like that. And then you just move along. You don't even acknowledge it. You're in Parliament. You're in the Parliament in, I don't know, Australia or in Canberra. And you just have to, there was this theorem proved. Here was this reality proven. Here's this thing about law proven. Thank you, daddy. And then you just go right back. Informal settings. Right? If the one thing I can do in this world is make all of this formality a fucking joke, that is what is going to occur. Again, Brad's Big Dick Emporium seems to be a overarching name for my estate currently. But in all expression that I'm putting out is to try to find the stabilizing syllability. Soak, moan. That A-O. Which again, historically, linguistically, I always point out that ow, like from like Portuguese and then China or in Asia, something about that a-ow, which is the opposite or inverse or iteration or something of OA. Again, we're trying to prove, again, we're proving the structure of language. Again, these are results I've already provided. But, you know, what is going on there? It's always, OA flips to the a-ow, and then they get the ow from Portuguese as well as Asian, specifically Mandarin Chinese. Asian is now a language family, just Asian. But sensorality, moans, moan, moon. Moaning is expressive. But literally, like think about that one a little more, expressive, right? Try to moan like inwardly. Oh. But like again, physically, when you moan outward. Oh. I love physics class, but it's real, it's true. Again, all expression has meaning, right? We're establishing the logical basis of sensorality. And you can certainly sense when somebody's moaning. Just ask your girlfriend. She's not at my house, just kidding. Growing extends. Sensorality is extendality. You got extendos, I got extendality. Sensorality tends. Sensorality trends. Momentum trends. I have citing working definitions. That was in reference to what we are now calling butthole squared. Squared, censored. Sensorality is squared. Square, R. That's one of those dichotomistic pairs. The base word of square is R, right? Again, back to this, this overarching, huge, massive theorem that verbs are the base and nouns are the range. And we see that with square as a noun, it's a thing, and R is the verb. Checks out, nice. Absorbing integrates. That was our big connection of physics and mathematics currently. Not going to label that like a special theorem because I really don't like to overdo it. And you're like, we renamed the fundamental theorem of physics like 5-6 times. It's like, wait till you see when I just did this whole derivation over email where it was all theorems or mostly theorems. It's a lot more, but it's not done haphazardly or not done as a joke. You plebeians, you troglodytes have never seen real mathematics. Look at me, I'm a scholar. But it's actually real. And so I make logical differentiations at the bare minimum, which I see as poignant to be put up like a light post. So like, here's something, here's a proof, here's where this changes. The logical differentiation and profundity, you guys have it's just like over your head completely. Because we're deriving the structure of all language and it's subjective. Right? It's reducing all of this logic that I've put out in which we get these fundamental proofs, which are true about reality, but where you start logically, again, everything is connected, nothing is touching. That would be a first principle, but showing the completeness, right, because of chronology and because of uniqueness, right, you don't return to the same starting point. You just reduce all of the logic down to elicit these proofs. And so it's a lot more, again, toward the art part of science where you're just telling a story, but the story has to be right. And so I'm not going to overdo labeling the theorems. Absorbing integrates. Dissolving disintegrates, right? Dissolution is disintegration. Dissolution is emulsification, right? If I take a solute into a solvent, it dissolves, right? It emulsifies. Sensorality emulsifies. Emulsify, emulate. Sensorality emulates. Sensorality is emulationality. Mutilation is disfiguring. Again, I'm going to really stop pointing it out, but anytime you see, how do we go from emulation to mutilation? You can hear the sound, you can see the letters. Figure, disfigure. Disfiguring deforms. And so even there, again, that's where a historical point where it matters, just so that I've done this whole process before. Language is consistent. I've proven that to this level. And so if you can't differentiate this vowel from this word when it's the same shape, same sound, same thing, that's not my problem. And because you literally can't, and I'm talking the collective body of everybody else I've ever met, it's like, what's the point of writing it down all of the time? I've proven language is consistent. You can hear the sounds, see the letters, moving along. Disfiguring deforms. Deformation is not ideal, right? If you have an ideal, if something is perfect, it doesn't have deformations. Ideals are standards. Ideal, idyllic. Pointing out the spelling change. Again, I don't know what to say about that, but again, we've introduced the Y, like the letter Y. When we've done, and that's like, again, reversed or iteration from the ly, idyllic. And so like the flipping of these letters, again, that's what I'm calling iterating in general, is like changing the position. And then geometrically, how do these things, letters, develop? And again, all of this logic is contained within them. Sensorality is idyllicality. Rhythmic is idyllic, right? When you want to maximize efficiency, go as fast as you can, complete any physical process as efficiently as possible, you form a rhythm. That's physical ideal. That's idyllic. So rhythmic is idyllic. So my rights continue to be violated. It is profound and extensive stress. Again, each one of these steps is like you have to, again, functional analysis, right? Functional real analysis. You have to have like a completion understanding to a level where it's like, again, when I say deriving, it's a complete proof, right? When Andrew Wiles sits in a basement and has this proof and all the experts have to pour it over, to me that doesn't even register as proof. A proof establishes a fact. An efficient proof establishes a fact in a way that nobody can deny. I do a complete reduced forms. Speciality is special with an ITY is directly, literally true. And it is the end of all of this analysis. And then it becomes, again, redundant. In effect of like the major concepts, the major physical principles don't change. We're going from rhythm to algorithm. We're still under this huge umbrella hierarchy thing of not die, reproduce, think. That includes economy, which isn't closed, and that includes classified technology, which isn't even acknowledged publicly. And so like these huge conceptual frameworks never change, right? Spelling a word constructs a variable. That is not changed whatsoever, and that's entirely introduced by my proofing. But that is what I have for you today. My rights continue to be violated. To whoever watches this, I continue to simply beg for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and for the ability to work. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.